Okay, Shalom. Right, so we're going to be looking at this parasha, Tazria, she conceives, and we're especially going to be looking at the concept of the leper, revealing the secrets of Moshiach. This has been one of the most difficult lessons for me to ever put together, but it's the most exciting revelation to be revealed. It's so wonderful. It really, really does take you to a place. Okay, so these are the lesson objectives. Come, let us reason together. Okay, so first of all, let's just make it clear what is the object of this whole lesson. Come, let us reason together. Obviously, the channel is called Stands to Reason, and that's what we should be doing. Square ordinal of 974, an atbash of 888, and an 888 is HaMoshiach spelt out, so the Mashiach. Also, 974 is the Mispar Gadol of Od Yosef Chai. Yosef is still alive. That is the ultimate goal. Everything we do about Torah should be to bring about a revelation, Od Yosef Chai. Okay, and obviously reveal the concept of the Mashiach clearly, because through the concept of Mashiach we see the name Yod He Waw He. It's a means to an end. So the ordinal of Od Yosef Chai is 92, which is exactly the same as Mashiach ben Dawid. The reason why we need to reach this place, Od Yosef Chai, is so that we can have revealed the final revelation of the soul of the Mashiach, which is Mashiach ben Dawid. So all the lessons are about that. Right, the specific lesson objectives for this lesson. Why do the rabbis say Moshiach is a leper? Why do the Torah verses regard leprosy? Who do the Torah verses regard leprosy indicate Moshiach is? Do not erase his name from Israel. What are the hidden secrets in this command? What power do we need to calm the waves of judgment and chaos and enter into final redemption on Shalom? What does the story of Yeshua walking on water tell us? It tells us a lot. We need to be paying attention to that story now. Who is the Jewish man whose shirt, tallit, we take hold of? And should we still be drinking blood and eating flesh? Okay, we need to be able to answer these questions. Let's go see if this lesson does in part. So first of all, we ask the question, why do the rabbis say that the Mashiach is a leper? We've got this statement. It's taken from Sanhedrin 98b from the Talmud. And it says, apropos the Messiah, the Gemara asks, what is his name? Ma Shemo. That's actually taken from Proverbs 30, verse 4, a very, very important text. The school of Rabbi Shelah says Shiloh is his name, as it is stated, until when Shiloh shall come, Genesis 49:10. The school of Rabbi Yanai says Yinon is his name, as is stated. May his name endure forever, may his name continue, Yinon as long as the sun, and may men bless themselves by him. Psalm 72:17. The school of Rabbi Chanina says Chanina is his name, as it is stated, for I will show you no favour. Hanina, that's from Jeremiah 16:13. And some say that Menachem ben Hizkiah is his name, as it is stated, because the comforter, Menachem, that should relieve my soul is far from me. That's Lamentations 1:16. And the rabbis say, so all the rabbis say, I've pointed out this before, so Shelah says Shiloh, Yanai says Yinon, Chanina says Chanina, Rabbi Chanina says Chanina, some say Menachem, okay, but all the rabbis and the rabbis, let's go back. The rabbis were Rabbanon, Omri, and the rabbis, inferring all the rabbis say, the leper of the house of Rabbi Yehuda and Nissi, this is added in, is his name. As it is stated, indeed our illness he did bear, and our pains he endured, yet we esteemed him injured, stricken of God, and afflicted. From Isaiah 53:4. Okay, so unbelievable. This is why the rabbis say it's a leper. They're not telling you he's a leper. It's a coded message. And I've said this so many times. They're telling you, go look in the Torah at the verses which talk about leprosy, and from there find out who is the Mashiach. It will reveal exactly who the Mashiach is. It's a coded message. All this is a coded message. And every single thing, even in this coded message, everything is pointing to Yeshua being the Mashiach. But let's go look at some some verses from Torah. Now, I've never analysed this particular verse from Torah. I've done a lot of teachings on the concept of leprosy, the leprous Mashiach, and I have got whole lists of teachings that do this. This is a whole other level of teaching. If you listen to the teachings on leprosy that I've done previously, this is a whole other level. So let's begin. The Kohen shall look at the lesion on the skin of his flesh, and if hair in the lesion has turned white, and the appearance of the lesion is deeper than the skin of his flesh, it is a lesion of tzaharath, leprosy. When the Kohen sees this, he shall pronounce him unclean. That's from Leviticus 13:3. So nega tzaharath, who? Right, let's go and have a look at some gematria. That's going to immediately point out who is this Mashiach, that all these rabbis, not just Sheila who says Shiloh, not just Menachem that says, some of the rabbis that say Menachem, not just Yanai that says Yinon, not just Hanina that says Hanina. All the rabbis say he's a leper. Why did they say that? Because they read these verses and they saw within these verses a revelation of the truth of who he is. Hu Tzaharath, it is leprosy, 772, 88 ordinally, which is a significant number, 948, another significant number, but 772 is 2 times 386, 2 times Yeshua. Okay, he's the Mashiach that they're talking about. And all the other names, Menachem, Shiloh, Yinun, Hanina, the initial letters spell the word Mashiach. Menachem for the Mem, Shiloh for the Shin, Yinon for the Yod, and Hanina for the Chet. So it's just a coded message to indicate who the Mashiach is. And it's pointing you very specifically to the verses of Torah that contain the instructions about leprosy. The halakha around leprosy is there's nothing written in the Torah with as much explicit details as the laws regarding leprosy. The Shabbat is very, very, very minimal in giving you the halakha regarding Shabbat. Regarding things like kashrut, very minimal. I was just listening to a teacher the other day talking about this particular parasha. Very minimal, but when it comes to leprosy, explicit. Goes over and over and over. The lesion on the skin, the lesions in the house, the lesions on clothing and things like that. It goes over and over and over, very explicit. Okay, so this is also the exact opposite. We talked about why has he got leprosy, because he's despised. No, because he's afflicted and stricken of God. That's from Isaiah 53:4. We've just looked at this. However, there's another revelation of the suffering Moshiach from Psalm 22:6, despised by peoples. It comes to 141, which is exactly the same as Amunah. Okay, and we are in a process where we are going through a rectification, where the Mashiach is suffering with us in this process, which is almost like a womb that will ultimately give birth to a true revelation, a complete, wholly formed revelation of the Mashiach. And the main development, the main progress that must be accomplished in this process of rectification, where the Mashiach is restricted and suffering and oppressed with us in this exile, is to develop our emunah, v'bitachon, in the name Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh. There's certain things that get in our way. 60 is the ordinal of Sheker, falsehood. It's also the ordinal of Amalek, doubt. These are what getting out in our way. And somehow the suffering servant is there to rectify our faith and overcome the forces of Sheker and doubt. Okay? We are not handed anything to us on a plate. We are going through a birthing process. And there's a certain amount we've got to go from immaturity to maturity. Okay, so 201 is the ordinal of the verse in Torah, and God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And I have analysed that verse many times, and that is basically telling you that light is not revealed. The light is hidden in the evil inclination, which are the forces of exile that dominate. The evil exile is what's called the outer nations that dominate during exile, during the immature stages, before we reach final redemption, before we give birth to the Mashiach. So that light is hidden in there. Why do we know that? Because the phrase, God said, let there be light, equals 575, which is exactly the same as evil inclination. How do we know that that light is hidden in doubt? Because, and God said, let there be light, and there was light, the second portion of that verse, let there be light, and there was light, comes to 470. That's the regular. This is the ordinal of it. The whole verse is an ordinal of 201. The verse regular is 575, as I just said, and 470. I'm only going over these because I've gone over them so many times in previous teachings that people who have listened to my teachings before will just be thinking, oh, he's going over these numbers again. So 470 is the filled out spelling of Amalek, doubt. So there we've got our falsehood. Falsehood is synonymous with our evil inclination. It's just this when we're subject to fantasy fiction in imagination rather than the truth, Od Yosef Chai, that reveals the name Yod He Waw He. Okay, and then the doubt in the Mashiach ben Yosef, and everything that Yod He Waw He is doing in this process of maturation. Because we haven't reached the end where we've seen the fully developed, and we haven't seen where Mashiach has been given birth to. Okay, so we've got a lot of doubt, but we need to overcome that doubt. Okay, so this is the regular, and the ordinal comes 201, despised by people. So this is linked to the verse, and God said, let there be light, and there was light. It didn't come in a revealed way, it came very, very, very concealed, in a suffering servant way, like Yeshua, to rectify our faith and to overcome the powers of evil. The Mispar Gadol is 701 and 71, that's Jonah. That's another significant number. Add them together, 772, 2 times 386, 2 times Yeshua. The one with leprosy has a job to do. He's helping us through this maturation process. He is our maturation process. It is. We will give birth to Mashiach, but this will be something that we're almost giving birth to ourselves as well. Because the soul of Mashiach is within all of us, just as the name Yod He Waw is within all of us. We've got to reach a place of maturation where that is revealed, where that dominates over these forces of evil that suppresses in exile. Okay, it just gets better and better. It is a legion of Tzaharat, Nega Tzarahat, 895 plus 121. Very significant messianic number, equals 1016. Very, very significant number. It's got a square ordinal of 1987. 1016 equals 4 times 254, 4 times Chamor donkey. Okay, and I've just done a whole load of teachings regarding the horse of Mashiach, and also regarding, this state of going from immaturity to maturity. And when we're immature and we don't know the secrets of the Torah, we're in a state of immaturity, and we're a state where exile dominates. We're a state where our evil inclination and our fantasy and fiction dominate over our good inclination, because our good inclination is not empowered with the truth. Give truth to Yaakov. Yaakov symbolises our good inclination. He must know the truth about what? Od Yosef Chai. Yosef is still alive. And in this state, the Mashiach is riding on a donkey. When we are immature, when we do not know the hidden secrets, the hidden way Yod He Waw is working in utter perfection with absolute sovereignty and oneness, when we do not know that because we don't understand the secrets, the way that He works, and this whole process of maturation, and it's very natural and holistic, we've got to move from one state of we've got to move from one stage to the other in the process until we get to that final stage where we are fully right, where we fully give birth to Moshiach. But in the meantime, we're in a state of exile, which is a state of immaturity. So this is the equivalent of Mashiach riding on a donkey. He won't come until he's riding on a horse. He doesn't fully come until he's riding on a horse. And I've gone through that teaching, and it's an excellent teaching. We've got to transition from, desiring even a Mashiach that comes riding on a donkey. This should be something we ultimately repulse, because the Mashiach doesn't desire to ride on a donkey. The king doesn't ride on a donkey. We've got an immature version of Mashiach. We've not got a fully matured concept of Mashiach, and because of that we're subject to immature forces, guardianship over us. We don't get access to the king over kings, who only rides on a horse, the queen, which is the secrets of the Torah, who does not ride on a donkey. And until we grow up, we will be subject to those forces that are the equivalent to riding on a donkey, and Moshiach will be suffering with us like a leper in this exile. Okay, so donkey, it's part, but you've got to understand, okay, so like, this is undesirable once you reach that place of maturation, but it's a necessary place it's a necessary process, because nothing that YHVH has done is evil in and of itself. Okay, it's all necessary. It was necessary for him to come riding on a donkey. It was necessary for him to die. It was necessary for him to enter into exile with us. It is necessary that he has suffered with us and endured this birthing process with us, and it will be necessary for him to come riding on a horse. It's necessary. It's all necessary, and it's all ultimately good. Just as, you know, the whole process of birth is a wonderful thing from start to finish, you know. It's just that at a certain stage, when it's not when things are undeveloped or not even developing, they're undesirable, but they're necessary. Necessary evil. Okay, may his name be erased. 404, 4 times Michael, the advocate, the archangel of Israel, the archangel of our own souls. 71 ordinarily, which is Jonah, comes to 475. Welo yemacha shmo, and not to raise his name. We will go and have a look at this soon. Welo yemacha shmo, and this is HaMoshiach. Okay, we're talking about the Mashiach. These letters here, these middle letters of this phrase, and not erase his name, this is, Yeshua has been cursed. Mashiach ben Yosef has been cursed. And the curse, you can hear them, people say, they'll say, Jesus, Yamach Shemo. That's what a Jew will, or Yeshu Yamach Shemo. It stands for Yamach Shemo, as Zikro, may his name be erased, and his memory is a curse. The Mashiach ben Yosef is cursed. Even the name Jesus is not his name. His name has been erased. So people calling him Jesus, it's not his name. This is not his name. Okay, so Yamach Shemo, his name has been erased. His name is Yeshua. Okay, so we're living in a place where his name is erased. And we've got to get to this place where he's revealed as the Mashiach and his name is not erased. Okay, 446 plus 95 ordinarily equals 551. All these are absolutely significant. All these are utterly significant. This is just, again, it's part of the process of growing up. We've got to attain a level of Michael, of advocate, advocating for all the good that Mashiach ben Yosef, while suffering in exile, has accomplished in our lives, in the lives of others, throughout 2,000 years. In disguise, as one despised by peoples, rejected by his own brothers and sisters. 71 ordinarily Jonah. What has Jonah been doing? He also descended into the ship and into the belly of whale. He is the prophet which reveals the truth regarding Mashiach ben Yosef. Okay, so we've got to attach to these in order to overcome this. This is the wholly opposite this. And then we get to this stage, which is the natural progression. Once we've overcome this curse, we can then enter into this and not erase his name. 446 plus 95 plus 551. 551 equals Yisrael. I mean, that's all Yisrael, not just fantasy fiction version of Israel, not the fantasy fiction that says all just the Jews that are the Jews that have decided, that have given themselves the authority to determine who is Israel. And we are Israel, not that fantasy fiction version of Israel, not that exile version of Israel. The truth. All the Jews, yes, of course, they first. You know, Yehuda first, but also the lost house of Yosef. Also the lost house of Yosef. It's got to be all Israel, not just one tribe, not just a couple of tribes, all Israel. That will only come when we reach this stage and we reveal the Moshiach. So 446 is Ahameth, the truth. Yeshua said, I am the truth. He is the truth. Like, don't erase my name. And also 95 is Hamelech, the king. The king of where? The king of Israel. Okay. Yeshua is Moshe, by the way. There's only one Mashiach and it's Moshe. Moshe came again as Yeshua. He will come again as Mashiach ben Dawid. There's one soul of Mashiach. He just came at different levels of soul. He was revealed at different incarnations of soul. Okay, so if we add this up and this up, we get to 1016, which is exactly the same as it is a legion of Tzaharath. Okay? It's opposite this, isn't it? When we unite, it's like when you unite and you see that even in the evil, like the stage of immaturity, where, doubt and falsehood reign, even that is a necessary part of the growth, because without that restriction, there's no liberation. Without that darkness, there is no light. Without that curse, there is no blessing. It's a necessary evil, and because it's so necessary, like you don't just suddenly, it's like the barley harvest sort of been talking about. The whole process of the barley split into 5 stages. The entire revelation of YHVH oneness, it's split into 5 stages. Okay, when we get to the ripening stage. But all the other ones are included. You don't just get barley fully grown appearing. It's a seed planted in pure darkness, and then it comes through and it goes through a pollination process, and it doesn't even begin. It doesn't even begin until it's pollinated. The 5 stages don't even begin. We're talking about the 5 stages of the grain don't begin until after pollination. Okay, and then at that point, but first it's got to have burst through the ground. So, but you don't get nothing until you go through that whole process. It suddenly doesn't just appear. And this is how we've got to mentally readjust. We're not going to get to final redemption without this whole process, and we've got to understand the good in that. Because why is the good in it? Because of the end. The end is good. Therefore, it's all good. Okay, then you shall delight. This is taken from Isaiah 58. It's got 931 and 85 ordinally, which comes to 1016. 2 times 508, 2 times Sarach. We talk about Sarach Bat Asher all the time. She is a key fundamental. I don't even know how to describe it. I don't think she's necessarily a person, but a level of consciousness and awareness of the name YHVH is what I would put it to. Or it's just a revelation of the name YHVH. It's all like a coded message. The coded message is Sarach. When you attain a level of consciousness that is equivalent to Sarach Bat Asher, I am sure through that you're able to access the truth regarding Mashiach ben Yosef. She was the woman who told Yaakov Od Yosef Chai. Yosef is still alive. She was also the woman who found the bones of Yosef with Moshe. She also went into exile. In the Torah, she's recorded as going into exile, going into Egypt. She's also recorded as part of the number that goes into Eretz Israel. She's a mysterious woman in many ways. Okay, let's go and have a look at some of these verses. Okay. Okay, then you shall delight with the Lord, and I will cause you to ride on the high places of the land, and I will give you to eat of the heritage of Yaakov your father, for the mouth of YHVH has spoken. Okay, so this is what we want to attain this place, don't we? We really want to get this stage where then you shall delight with YHVH. This is a wonderful promise. Okay. Slightly out of order, but this was the first one that we looked at. But I am a worm and not a man, a reproach of man, despised by people. So that's Psalm 22:6. It's got an ordinal value of Yeshua, the curse with which Yeshua is cursed. Like I say, this is an important part of it. Without the curse, there is no blessing. We don't get the full revelation of his name. It comes to a regular of 2,215. Okay, 2,215 is 5 times 443. Be'emeth, in truth. It's all about truth. The worm, it says, fear not, O worm of Yaakov. So the worm is related to Yaakov, and I've talked about this before. The whole concept of the Shemeah worm that builds up the holy temple because no axe can be used or no metal implement can be used on the stones. They use this Shemeah worm, and it's all synonymous with truth. When you look at the numbers, it's all to do with truth, and it's all connected to Yaakov. Okay? And even the fact that Yaakov lived 147 years, and if you times 147 by 3, you get 441, and 441 is emeth, truth. Everything, Yaakov is symbolic with truth. So we are really wanting a revelation of that truth, but until there's no truth without a lie. It comes, we need to transform the lie into a revelation of the truth. We need to wrestle with it until it reveals and yields that's hidden within it. And we're in this exile as well to get the lost holy sparks that are in exile. And if you can see here, Velo ish cherpath Adam, despised by man, okay, a reproach of man. Those 3 first letters, chet, resh, peh, are the same 3 letters that are used when the Spirit of God hovers over the water. Okay, and the sages say that those 3 letters that come to 288 are the 288 lost sparks that need to be drawn out of exile. The lost holy sparks that are hidden in the darkness, that are hidden in the exile, that we need to retrieve, and often that's through our suffering in this exile, but it's also part of the process of maturation. Okay, so the Spirit of God is hovering over the deep, and we've got to be aware that we're in this process of exile for a specific reason, to draw out the holiness that is trapped in this exile, and that has been greatly accomplished by the soul of Mashiach ben Yosef, who is like the Spirit of Elohim that hovers over us until we are brought to that place of maturity. Okay, lost my place. There we go. Okay. Right, this is another really interesting aspect. Dir Shu Me'al Sefer Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh. Seek out the book of Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh and read it. So that also comes to 1016. Okay, exactly the same as it is a legion of Tzaharath. Plus 170. Together they come to 1186. Bearing in mind 1000 represents Moshiach, and as in Mashiach ben David 434 plus Mashiach ben Yosef 566. Add them up together, they come to 1000. So that's the concept of Moshiach. 186 is the square ordinal of Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh. Okay, so that is Moshiach with a full inclusion of the name Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh, or the square ordinal, I should say. This 170, okay, so first of all, we've got a connection up here to the whole concept of sheaths, as in Yosef's sheath. So sheaf. So this comes up all the time in the teachings and regards the revelation of Mashiach ben Yosef, because there were binding sheaths in the field, and his sheaf arose, and all the sheaths bowed down to it. 49 is the ordinal of Sarach. So 121 is exact ordinal of it is a legion of Taharath, and that is directly putting a link to Mashiach ben Yosef, and that's again directly linked to Mashiach ben Yosef. And again this from here, these two together, 170, which is exactly the same as Ayin. This is the letter Ayin spelt out, but it's also Ayin means I, And this is the letter missing from Yeshua's name, i.e. Yimach Shemo, so it's called Yeshu instead of Yeshua with an ayin on the end. So 130, that's the regular of ayin. 40 is the ordinal of ayin. Together they come to 170. We're looking for that missing letter ayin, aren't we? We're looking to bring us from a place of immaturity to a place of maturity. Okay. The Mispar Gadol of ayin here is 780. Mispar Gadol of ayin plus ayin is 850. So that's the Mispar Gadol plus the letter ayin is 850, and I do believe that will be 5 times that, won't it? So it's pointing at the letter ayin, to look out for this missing letter ayin, to raise Moshiach ben Yosef from a place of curse up to a place of blessing. We want that blessing. But you don't have one without the other. And this is a very important book. I'm just going to go and have a look at this quickly. Okay, so we've got this concept. I'm only going to do this quickly because I've gone through this loads of times. This is just to show you how important that particular verse is. Seek out the book of YHVH. I've done a complete analysis of that. It's unbelievable. It's all pointing at Yeshua being the Mashiach. Zohar Teruma 79. It is written, the Watchmen said, the morning comes and also the night. If you will inquire, return, come. This passage was established to refer to those exiles of Israel who were living among the children of Seir, which is Edom, the land of Edom, Esav. Yisrael said to the Holy One, blessed be he, Watchman, what of the night? What will come of us from this exile, that is, of the darkness of night? It is written, the Watchman said, and this is the Holy One, blessed be he. The morning comes. I have already shone upon you during Egypt. I have raised you and brought you to my service, and I gave you the Torah in order that you merit eternal life. You have forsaken my Torah, and also night. I have brought you into exile in Babylon and raised you, but you forsook my Torah as before. I brought you again into exile. If you inquire, as it is written, seek out the book of Hashem and read. You will find there, in this verse, what we've just been looking at, seek out the book of Hashem and read, you will find there just what your exile and deliverance are dependent on. If you inquire of it, it will say, proclaim you to return, come in complete repentance, and immediately you will come and get close to me. Okay, the watchman of the night is Metatron. So this is what happens when we're in the night. It's like equivalent to exile, and we're in a state where we need a guardian over us, and that guardian is Metatron, until the full revelation of Moshiach ben Yosef and the entire of what's called Yesod, the foundation of the world, is fully established. And that full connection, open connection between heaven and earth, we've got this guardian there instead. We're in a constricted state where the flow of abundance from heaven to earth is limited because of our immaturity. We're not able to receive that YHVH desires to give. So Metatron is the watchman of the night. We need to mature. We need to see the day dawn. And instead of Metatron, we will have Moshiach, the concept of Moshiach there instead. And that will lead us into a full face-to-face relationship with the name YHVH. Okay, so I've gone through that loads. It's very significant. That's basically what's significant. And why is it significant? Well, it's because it's pointing at all these things. That's why it's significant. Can you find out the mystery of God? So 886 is 2 times 443. And we've just seen, haven't we, 443 was... let me think now. I think it was something to do with... let's have a look at these verses. It's somewhere... right, it's up here, in truth. But I am a worm and not a man, a reproach, a man despised by peoples. Okay, so 443, better meth, is in truth. Okay, so that's 443 times 2. Can you find out the mystery of God? It's pointing back to despised by peoples. The mystery of God, despised by peoples. It's got 130, which is again up here, the ayin. Okay, it's added together 1016, 4 times 240. 54, pointing us up here. Okay, it's very clear who that is referring to. Let's go and actually have a look at the verse in full. Can you find out the mystery of God? Can you find out the limit of the Almighty? Tallit, Shaddai. Tallit is the goal of, or the end of, Shaddai. So Shaddai is got the gematria 314, and that's synonymous with Metatron. It's connected to Metatron, I should say. So what's that basically saying? Well, we've just seen, can you find out the mystery of God is related to Moshiach ben Yosef in exile, where the mystery are those secrets that reveal Od Yosef Chai, and until we have those secrets, then the king is riding on a donkey and not a horse. And we're in a state of immaturity. And who is guarding over us in a state of immaturity? It's not the name YHVH, because he refuses to ride on a donkey. He will only ride on a horse. So Shaddai is guarding over us. The name of Shaddai is guarding over us, and that is connected to Metatron and the angel of the Lord, whose name is within him. And what name is within him? Shaddai. That's what the rabbis say. The angel of the Lord that guards over the children of Israel in the wilderness. And it says, obey him because my name is within him. The name that the rabbi says within him is Shaddai, because that angel of the Lord is Metatron, who's guarding us until we reach full maturity. And he's a slave who rules. It's a necessary evil because we're not mature enough to meet with the king face to face. So we've got to have a guardian. I've talked about this all the time. So can you find out the mystery? The opposite that is a revelation of the truth. And that's better meth in truth. Only in truth can we're still stuck in this immature state, aren't we? Which is synonymous with the donkey. Until we find out that mystery, that will reveal the ayin, the missing letter ayin from the name. And all that's involved in that. Till we get to that place, Od Yosef Chai. Again, we've got this. So again, this is very, very, very interesting, this verse. I've done a lot of analysis. All these numbers are extraordinary. These are 3 verbs to gather in. This hu kabatsan comes from this verse here. Hu kabatsan. But it's still to gather. You can see the same letters. Kaf, bet, tzade. Kaf, bet, tzade. Kaf, bet, tzade. Kaf, bet, tzade. So it's the same root letters. Hu kabatsan, he gathered. And this is talking about he will gather us in. Okay, so it comes to 713, which is Teshuvah. And we've just had a look at that part when it were mentioning about seek out the book of YHVH, so that you can fully return. The word return is Teshuvah. We want to return the letter He that is falling into exile, falling into immaturity, up to her original status, which is the level of the first letter He. Okay, which is synonymous with the world to come, Bina, the Garden of Eden, things like that. So we want to return to our true status, not our fallen status, our exiled status, our diminished status. And Moshiach ben Yosef is helping us to accomplish that. Moshe is helping us to accomplish that. Moshiach is helping us to accomplish that. And so Hu Kabat-san is at the end of this verse, but it's very much linked up to this verse as well. Because Hu Kabat-san, he gathered, or it gathered. Let's go and have a look, see if I've brought the actual verses up. Not at that one. Sorry, I've gone back to that. This one. So says the Lord God, who gathers in the dispersed of Israel. I will yet gather others to him, together with his gathered ones. So they're the 3 words that came to Teshuvah, like return. And Teshuvah, the rabbis say, the word Teshuvah means Teshuv He, the return of the letter He, the return of the last letter He of the name YHVH back to original status in Gad Eden, the first letter He. Okay, so It's got a regular of 1,704, which is 24 times 71, 24 times Jonah. It's got an ordinal of 426, which is 6 times Jonah. So the verse is completely and totally connected to the concept of Moshiach ben Yosef, because Moshiach ben Yosef said, Yeshua said, the only sign I will give a wicked and adulterous generation is the sign of Jonah. So Jonah equals 71. It's also symbolic of Israel and the nations, or the Sanhedrin and Moshe. There's lots of very powerful concepts connected to 71. And then, of course, we've got this: seek out the book of the Lord and read. Not one of them is missing. One did not miss her friend. For my mouth it has commanded, and its breath it has gathered them. So there we've got the hu kabetzan. Its breath it has gathered them. Warucho hu kabetzan. It's Moshiach ben Yosef. This kabetzan is the same word in Hebrew for beggar. He's basically out begging to spare our lives. Like a beggar. He's like so diminished, but he's begging to get those holy sparks back, that our own soul has been trapped in this exile for good. There's a purpose why. You've got to understand, it's all YHVH and nothing else, for a start. We can't just see, whoa, look at what Mashiach is doing. No, look at what YHVH is doing. Because the whole purpose of this exile is one purpose and one purpose only in creation, and that's to reveal the name and sovereignty and authority and perfection and oneness of the name YHVH. And everything, including the Moshiach, is only to that purpose. So that is the only purpose for the entire of creation, to reveal the name YHVH as he wills it to be revealed to us. Okay, and it uses the Moshiach in order to accomplish his will. The Moshiach is his will. Okay, because the Moshiach is, through the Moshiach we see that name revealed. So the Moshiach is there in everything, the purpose of everything, that the gathering in. The purpose is not the gathering in and of itself. YHVH orchestrated the entire of creation so that we would cause ourselves to go into exile. Why? Because it's only from that place of exile is his name fully revealed, and all the process involved and his complete authority and his complete sovereignty is revealed. The whole process of maturation is to understand the way that YHVH has orchestrated the entire of creation for one single purpose: to reveal his name in truth, as he wills. Okay, so the Mashiach is part of that. You've got to look beyond that and see, why is the Mashiach in this exile, gathering in us in that are lost and trapped in this exile? How did we end up in this exile? What is the purpose? Well, you did evil, so then you've ended up stuck. Yeah, but why? Because ultimately, through all that, YHVH has set it up so that we would descend into exile, so that he would have to send the Mashiach in, because through that, his glory is revealed, his compassion, his kindness, his forgiveness, his grace, his mercy, his long-suffering, his ability to cleanse, his forgiveness of sins and transgressions and iniquity. It's all revealed because we have been trapped in exile. It reveals his name because he has to find a way to get us out. And that whole process of redeeming us from these depths reveals all the aspects of his name. It reveals him. It brings his name near to us in our humility. So it's all set up to reveal his name. So seek out the book of YHVH and read. Okay, so everything, again, this is linked back to that. He gathered 254, hu kabatzan, it's donkey. So that's related to all this. If we just say, oh, well, Mashiach's just, we were sinners and God sent his son and he redeemed us from exile, we're not fully getting the full picture. So that's why it's still a donkey. 254 is donkey, chamor. That's not enough. It's not enough to bring. You've got to get the king upon his horse. You've got to understand that everything in this entire creation has worked for an absolute good. Evil in itself does not exist because the overall purpose is so good. There's only YHVH and nothing else beside him. It does not matter that we chose to sin. It does not matter ultimately that we were gathered in and that YHVH used the Moshiach to gather us. That is just a means to an end. The end is the revelation of the name YHVH, and it's not to diminish any part of that process, like I say. The entire of the process in itself is good because the end is good. But we've got to put it in the context of the end. Anywhere, if you're looking and staring at anywhere on that process without seeing that this is in the process of being developed to something of full maturity that will bring us into a revelation with the full name YHVH, then you just accept, you're just going to see this thing in its immature state and think that that's all that there is, but you're not seeing the full picture. You've got to see it through to maturity. You know, so all these things, compared to the full maturity, these are just the secret. These are still in a state of immaturity. We've got to get to that place where we're no longer riding on a donkey. We've got to understand what is this gathering in for exactly. It's to reveal his name. It's not because it's to reveal his name. The name of YHVH is to reveal it. But how is that ultimately revealed? That name is illuminated within us. His name is revealed within us. You know, it's not just something that he did to us. It's something within us revealed to bring us ourselves to that place of maturity where we're no longer subject to exile, we're no longer subject to a guardian, but we have entered into a face-to-face relationship with YHVH himself. So we've got to see what the whole process is all about. It's not just to buy our ticket into heaven, you know, and give us a free meal ticket, all this, so that we know we'll live for it. There's a purpose for it beyond that. And anyway, we've got this connected to the truth as well. It's all of this gathering in is to ultimately to reveal, well, that would be Behemoth in truth, wouldn't it? What's the ultimate only truth? It's YHVH, nothing else beside him. So he gathered 254 donkey. 53 is Yeshua, the ordinal of Yeshua. It's also the rectified of Yaakov, and together they come to 307, which is Rivka. So Rivka was the mother of Yaakov and Esav. There's got to be unity between them. And all this is bringing unity between heaven and earth, between Israel and the nations, between body and soul, between male and female. There's also got to be unity. Right, so this was one of the questions, weren't it, in the lesson objectives. Who was the man whose skirt or wing, it's the tallit really. In those days when 10 men of all the languages of the nations shall take hold of the skirt or wing, kanaf, of a Jewish man. Bearing in mind the seats are put on the kanaf, the wing or the corner of a garment. So that's from Zechariah 8:23. Let's go and have a look at the whole verse. So said the Lord of hosts, in those days when 10 men of all languages and all nations shall take hold of the skirt of a Jewish man, saying, let us go with you, for we have heard that God is with you. Okay, so this is it. Comes to 3,974. 3,355 equals 5 times 671. Okay, how is it linked back? Oh, it's linked back to here, look. 3,974 is 2 times 1,987. What's 1,987? The square or ordinal of Nega Tzara'ath Hu. We know that that's Yeshua. And this is also Adonai filled, so this is a gate, isn't it? Mashiach is a gate. It's a gate to what? to the name Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh. Adonai is a gate to the name Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh. I've pointed this out before. And we've got this gate. This is connected to the concept of the gate. Why is Adonai a gate? Because the name Adonai, usually, this is with it filled, and it's also equal to this word, which is gate in Aramaic, 671. So you've got the mezuzah scroll and everything about that, the blood on the lintels and things like that. Everything about the mezuzah pointing at Moshiach, specifically Mashiach ben Yosef, who's a gate to the name Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh. So we've got the word Adonai. Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh is not pronounced in Judaism at this time. We'll pronounce the holy name Adonai instead. Adonai is 65. It's got exactly the same as mezuzah, 65. That's the gematria of mezuzah, the gematria of Adonai, 65. 26 is a gematria for Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh. Okay, if you multiply that by 2.5, you get 65. 2.5 symbolises the concept of the gate. Why do we know this? Because there's 2.5 tribes on the other side of the Yarden, the eastern side of the Yarden. Okay, 2.5 tribes are like a gateway into Eretz Yisrael proper. So we know 2.5 is symbolic of that concept of gate, and we can see that with the name Adonai and Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh. Adonai is 2.5 times Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh. It's a gate to the name Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh. Moshiach is a gate to the name Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh. Okay, which is a revelation of the name Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh. So we've got this again connected to it is a legion of Tzaharath. So it's connected to all this. I should point out actually 127. I don't know why I've not put it on there. Maybe it will come up. It's going to come up now. So this is another fundamental concept. There's a big problem in exile. Keep the month of spring. We're actually on Rosh Chodesh Nisan. So we're entering into the new month of Nisan. Keep the month of spring and make the Pesach offering to the Lord your God, for in the month of spring the Lord your God brought you out of Egypt at night. Okay, so this verse we can see the regular and the ordinal is 4064, which is 4 times 1016. So it's up here, it's connected. We know Yeshua is connected to the whole concept of Pesach. He died at Pesach. He died and he's considered a Pesach offering. Okay, I have a problem with this. I have a problem with this in understanding it in a mature way, but he was sentenced to death. You got to understand, he didn't want to die. He begged and pleaded not to die, but he was sentenced to death by an evil Sanhedrin that accused him of blasphemy. And the accusations, I've talked about this before, they're like Potiphar's wife. They grabbed hold of him. He wasn't prepared to be seduced by them, and they brought an end to him. They brought an end to him ultimately, but he was considered the Passover offering, isn't he? The Passover lamb, the Pesach lamb that brings us out of exile. Okay, again that's put on the mezuzah, the doors. It's a gate. However, it equals 32 times 127, and 127 is Yeshua. 532 regular plus 127 ordinally. And this is the highest spelling out of Yeshua when the Vav is filled with a Yod. The reason why I've got a problem with it, let me just put this out. Elohim, God, 86 plus 41 is 127. Okay, so that's the regular and the ordinal of Elohim, God. And 41 is also the ordinal of Kisei David, the throne of David. Mashiach ben Yosef is the throne of David. Okay, and Elohim is the name of God at the level of Bina, the first letter here. Okay, and it's also the throne of Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh. So it's all connected. Like Kisei David is the throne that will be established on earth, but in correspondence to that, there'll be a heavenly throne, and that's connected to the holy name Elohim at the level of Bina. Okay, there's lots of things you can talk about, but there's so much. I've spoke about this whole concept of spring. We are in exile right now, where there's a pre-calculated calendar from Hillel II. It's a consequence of exile. It's not the true way that spring should be kept. We should go in accordance to observations of the new moon and observations of the Aviv, the barley. This is not done, and the barley is very much like is a revelation about the maturation of Moshiach ben Yosef. So if you're in exile and you're excluding yourself from properly observing the calendar, the Pesach, because of exile, you're keeping an exilic Pesach, an exilic Babylonian influenced calendar. The problems with that is that they're never ever going to reveal the truth about Moshiach ben Yosef. Because why? Because he is totally and utterly revealed within the barley process and within the whole concept of spring, the whole concept of the new moon and the keeping of Pesach and the spring. And everything that goes as a consequence of that, the maturation of the Hagim. So you've got Shavuot after that, the holy festival of Shavuot, the giving of the Torah, the Feast of Weeks, the counting of the Omer in between, and then Sukkoth, the festival of ingathering and all these things. So the entire calendar that should reveal the mysteries and the truth, we're in a state of exile, we're in a state of immaturity, we're not getting access to that. So the fact that we've got this Babylonian influenced calendar, it's called Nisan now. Nisan is Babylonian. It's Aviv, the actual month. And everything about it, there's certain adjustments that have taken place. And the fact that it's pre-calculated means that Pesach is shifting further and further away from the spring equinox. There's all kinds of things. It's shifted by on average about 5 days away since the calendar was established, and it will shift even further in the future. So we've got problems with this pre-calculated calendar, and especially around the setting of the Torah-based Aviv. We should be repulsed by it. We should reach a level of maturity where we're not satisfied with this whole keeping of the Pesach. We should be repulsed by it, because we want to keep the Pesach in truth, understanding every aspect about it, the secrets that are hidden within that reveal the truth about Moshiach, Od Yosef Chai, and through that reveal the name YHVH. He desires to have his name revealed in truth. This whole calendar that we're subject to is exilic. It's not the truth. It doesn't fall according to the Torah. Therefore, it won't reveal the secrets that we need in order to bring YHVH from a place of expecting him to ride on a donkey, which he doesn't. You've got Metatron instead of YHVH, and you're serving him as a guardian, and most people don't even realise that they're serving Metatron. Okay, and then we've got this. He uncovers deep things out of darkness and brings to light the shadow of death. So this is again highly, highly messianic. It's Eov 12:22, and we've got 2032, which is 16 times 127, which is Yeshua. Okay, everything's pointing to Yeshua, by the way, one way or another. So all these numbers, bearing in mind all these numbers, 254, 1016. The 4064, 2032 are all pointing to Yeshua at the level of Atziluth, the level of emanation where the Vav is filled with the Yud. The highest level of filling out of the name is 127. And we need to reveal all the secrets regarding Moshiach ben Yosef. We need to uncover the deep things out of darkness and bring to light the shadow of death. Okay, so there's loads of messianic concepts here. 331 is Ephraim. 139 is Jonah Hanavi, Jonah the prophet. 157 is Nukva, what's called Malkuth, but in Hebrew, when it's got a hey on instead of an aleph. So Nukva, 157, and this is related to the 5 aspects of Moshiach. If you've listened to any of my teachings, we've come across that a few times, the 157, the Nukva, the entire building up of the kingdom of God. And then this again, it's related to the 5 aspects of Mashiach. Okay, so we've got to get from that place of immaturity to a place of maturity. Let's go and have a look at this, because this is really, I'm just a bit tempted to go and have a look at this, out of the darkness. This is a parallel verse. It's not exactly the same, but there's a parallel to this verse and the one we've just read. Okay, Zohar, light from darkness. So it talks about, that verse talked about bringing the things out of darkness, didn't it? So this is quite interesting. I'm just going to briefly go over it. It says, Rabbi Shimon opened the discussion saying, he reveals the deep and secret things. He knows what is in the darkness, and the light dwells in him. He reveals the deep and secret things. Means that the Holy One, blessed is he, reveals the deep and secret things. These are the things that we need, the secrets of the Torah that raise us up out of exile, raise us up from the Mashiach coming on a donkey to the Mashiach coming on his horse. He reveals all the supernal concealed depths, namely the central column that reveals the depth of the 2 columns of Bina. Why did he reveal them? It is because he knows what is in the darkness. So he knows what's in the exile. Namely, in the darkness of the left, where the light of Chochmah sinks because of the lack of Hasidim. If there was not darkness, the light would not later be revealed. So through the central column, he knows what is in the darkness, and this is like what I've just been talking about. If no exile, there's no redemption, there's no falsehood, there's no truth, there's no curse, there's no blessing, there's no darkness, there's no light. It's our work to toil to reveal it, meaning that he included it in the right column. Therefore he revealed deep and concealed things, for were it not for the darkness of the left, the depths and the concealed would not be revealed. Then the light dwells in him. What is the light? It is the light that has been revealed from within the darkness, which is Chochmah. Okay? So it's quite mysterious language, but that's basically, without the immature states, we don't get to the maturity. We can't have one without the other. So it's just bearing that in mind. This is a phenomenal number, though. Let me just bring up some of this number, because whilst we're at it, we might as well have a look. This is just a classic number we've got to have a look at. Okay, I'm just going to really quickly go through this, because there is actually another connected to the Taharat with this number. But basically the luminaries, this is the luminaries spelt rectified. In the Torah they are not spelt rectified, they don't include this Vav, and that represents the truth. The luminaries represent the concept of Mashiach. We've got to toil in exile until we reach that, to find the truth regarding Mashiach. Because through Mashiach we understand the whole process of revelation of the name Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh, from immaturity to a place of maturity. Okay, so the luminary is 658 regular, 73 ordinary, come to 731. This is them spelt rectified. Okay, so this is when we understand the truth regarding Moshiach ben Yosef, the truth regarding Moshiach ben Dawid. Okay, or the truth regarding Moshe. Nekmath, as in Nechmath Dam, revenge for the spilt blood of the servant. So we know he's suffering with us in exile. Moshe's suffering within his exile. There's loads of consequences as a result of having an immature understanding of the concept of Mashiach. An immature concept of Mashiach bites hard. He's basically a serpent. So Mashiach, not fully mature, he looks like a serpent. Well, he is a serpent, it bites. When we haven't got a full understanding of the truth of what has been accomplished through the Mashiach revealed to us, and we don't have a full revelation of the name Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh, what we've got is a restricted understanding, or a limited understanding, an exilic understanding and an exilic consciousness, and this bites. It's not really the Mashiach, it's like a false Mashiach, and this bites. There's lots of blood being spilled as a result of our ignorance and as a result of our immaturity, not fully understanding the will of Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh through the concept of Mashiach. Okay, lots of blood has been spilled, so that blood will eventually be avenged, and when it is, it's linked to the concept of Hama'oroth. Okay, 590 is also Tzitzit. We've talked about the grabbing hold of the tzitzits of the Jewish man, who is Yeshua. Okay, 68 is, it's 4 times good, tov. It's got to be revenged in a good way. You know, the only way that can't be more blood spilt, can't be more judgment. It's got to be coming in a good way. And the only good, let me just make sure that is 68. Yeah, it is 4 times. It's all we've got to pray that his blood is revenged in a good way. The good way is through a revelation of the secrets of the Torah that bring us to a place of maturity, that bring us from this exile, from this guardianship, from this immaturity to proper maturity, to face-to-face relationship, as children of YHVH in the palace of the King. Okay. Ask Tish'al is 731. It's got an ordinal of 56, which is the ordinal of Teshuvah. And there's also other big connections to do with that. Ask for my name. This is from Genesis 32:30. We'll have a look at that in a minute. But that comes to 731. Tish'al is ask, 731, plus Lishmi, my name, is 380. Together, however, they come to 1,111. You'll see how it's all connected. Melech Israel, the Mispagdol of Melech Israel, King of Israel, is 1,111. So it's connected to this. It's also connected to when the luminaries are fully, where we've got that maturity, we've got the truth, or Yosef Chai. With the revenge for the spilt blood of the servants has happened in a good way by attaching to the tzitzits of the Moshiach. This is going to bring about a revelation of the name YHVH through his tzitzits, his understanding of the commandments. You know, in a good way. This is a good way to reveal the name YHVH. This is a good way to reveal the King of Israel. I talk about this all the time. All the time, when I hear about a Jewish person dying or people dying, on Poppy Day on Remembrance Day, my eldest daughter's called Poppy. She was due to be born on Remembrance Day, and I always say, I can't be happy about, I'm not happy about all these people dying in the war. I stood there, especially this Remembrance Sunday, and the 2 minutes of silence, and in my mind, in that silence, I am saying, avenge their blood in a good way. This is blood has been spilled. These people were lied to. It's all part of this immaturity and exile. All this blood spilt in war. All what's going on now with Russia and Ukraine. Got to pray that blood is avenged in a good way, because they are being deceived. It's through immaturity that they are not able to perceive that they're not even able to perceive that they actually should be united as brothers. They shouldn't be fighting against each other. They're killing each other, raping each other. I read a story about a woman raped in front of a baby minutes after her husband had been murdered, killed. This is barbaric beyond measure. There's no good in this. There's no good. This is man choosing evil. But YHVH has to take all that and transform it from the darkness that it is into a revelation, and ultimately it will be, how can something like that, and all the savage behaviour, war behaviour, the Holocaust and everything, how can it possibly be avenged? Through revealing his name and the resurrection of the dead, which is part of his name. We believe with complete faith in the resurrection of the dead, and those 13 attributes of faith match up to the 13 attributes of mercy that are his name. Okay, so we want it, the blood avenged in a good way through revelation, and we want to see that final revelation, which is linked to the revelation, the resurrection of the dead, for sure. We want him to be king over Israel. We want the king over Israel to be established in a good way. Melech Israel, 631. This is it normally spelled, 100 ordinal, comes to 731. Moshe which is the luminaries. Moshe is the luminaries. Mashiach, 345, plus Yeshua, 386, 731. They are the King of Israel. It's one Mashiach. They are one. Different levels of soul. The soul level of the neshama of the Mashiach, the Yechidah of the Mashiach. Mashiach ben Yosef, Mashiach ben David will be the Chaya of the Mashiach. And these are things that will be revealed within us. Within us. There's somebody. Moshe really came on the earth. Yeshua really came on the earth, but they came in order to reveal the name Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh. Where is it going to be revealed? Where is this name going to be revealed? In the entire of creation, including in each and every one of us. This is why we shouldn't be killing each other. Because we carry that light within, but we are so far into this exile, we have absolutely no consciousness of who we are and who the other person is. So we just, we're trying to save our exiled life at the cost of murdering and going to war with another. Remember and do not forget. Okay, 992. 119, together they come to 1111. We have forgotten. Okay, we should be remember and do not forget. I think that's let me just see what. All right, this is the Genesis verse. Sorry, let me just see what that is. Okay, so this is remember and do not forget. Zachor el tishkach. How you angered the Lord your God in the desert from the day you went out of the land of Egypt until you came to this place. You have been rebelling against the Lord. Okay, so this is, again, isn't it? We can go through an experience of redemption, but then we've got like the desert wanderings. Okay, and we're really not following that process of maturation through, are we? We want to get into the promised land. We want to go from exile through the desert wanderings till we're fully mature, and we don't want to be in a state of constant immaturity. We want to grow up and take responsibility so that we can enter into the promised land. And this is really we've got to get to that place where we're accomplishing that. Okay. This spelling, however, remember and do not forget, Zachor el Tishhak, is the spelling according to Arizal's commentary. It differs from what is written in Deuteronomy because it's got an extra vav. Okay, which we know Mahorot is missing vavs. So in the Arizal commentary, it's written Zachor el Tishchach, which comes to 1111. Okay, which links us up to all these concepts, the king of Melech Israel, and this 731. And the fact is, the Ma'orot spelt without the vavs, but we have to. It's missing two vavs. This Zachor, it would appear, according to Arizal, must be missing a vav. So that's another interesting thing. Right. So I said we would go and have a look at this Welo Yimacha Shmo. Okay. So we've looked at everything else, haven't we? Hopefully you're looking at this, making your own connections, which is what we should be doing. So this is where it's taken from, Deuteronomy 25:06. So this contains a blessing, doesn't it? And it's even mentioned in the book of Ruth that Ruth gave birth to Mashiach ben David. She gave birth to Oved, who gave birth to Yishai, who gave birth to David. Okay, so it's mentioned because Naomi says to her, even if I was to, conceive tonight kind of thing, you'd have to wait until. She's trying to discourage Ruth from coming with her. And she discourages, and one of the things she's pointing out is this whole concept of Levirate marriage. Okay, she says, even if because obviously Ruth marries one of Naomi's sons and dies, and he dies before she's had a chance to have a child. So Naomi makes mention of the Levirate marriage, and she says, what, even if it was to conceive, you'd have to wait, just go back home to your family. And she says, I'm not going. I'm coming with you. Your God is my God. And then she gives birth through Boaz, through the kinsman redeemer that is Boaz. She gives birth to, ultimately, to Moshiach ben David. King David, but obviously King David is connected to the concept of Moshiach ben Dawid, as is Yosef connected to Moshiach ben Yosef. And it will be that the eldest brother who performs the Levirate marriage, if she can bear, will succeed in the name of his deceased brother. Welo yimacha shmo mi Yisrael, so that the deceased brother's name shall not be obliterated from Israel. Okay, so we know there's a hidden, even though something horrible's happened, the husband has died, they haven't even got children, there's something very profoundly hidden in this, isn't there? So that his name shall not be obliterated from Israel comes to 1027, 172 ordinal, together they come to 1199. So then we've got this connection, his right hand and his holy arm, 851, 176. That also comes to 1026. Okay, so this is the arm of redemption, isn't it? We want to experience this redemption. So we can see here clearly this, his right hand and his holy arm is linked up to this. We need to attach to this. Whatever is hidden in this that brings about this, we need to attach to it. And I gave it to him that pleased me, or that was upright in my eyes. So that comes to 2054, 236 ordinarily, comes to 2290. But the 2054 is 2 times 1072. So that is also linked to it. And then this is phenomenal. So this is the old concept of the sea saw and fled, the Jordan turned backwards. So I did a teaching about the coffin of Yosef. What did the sea see that caused it to flee? So it saw the coffin of Yosef. Okay, now bring you some sources up regard that. And this is why Jonah is so important, because Jonah is connected to the whole concept of the calming the sea. Okay, this is really going to lead on to another lesson, because we're in a state of immaturity now, and we've got to bring all these concepts together. So the whole concept of Jonah, I did a teaching on Jonah. It's absolutely brilliant. It goes through the questions that Jonah was asked and his answer. I am a Hebrew. He answered. They asked him in very concealed and revealed ways, and he answered them all in a revealed way. Okay, so they basically wanted to know, because there was in a storm at sea, are you of the seed of Yosef that can bring this sea to a halt? We're in a storm, are you? And they put him in, and the storm calmed down, but he answered them on a Ivri, and there's wonderful, wonderful reasons why that they're the words that he used, because he was talking. To be a Hebrew means you are empowered by the truth, and all the connections in that. I can't go into it now, but this whole concept of still in the sea, you've got to understand, well, what does the sea in turbulence represent? It represents all the harsh judgments. The sea represents the kingdom of God, and when it's wavy and tempestuous, it represents the harsh judgments. Okay, so we need a force and a power that can still those harsh judgments. We've got the Yosef's coffin. The deeds of Yosef caused the sea to part, so they could go through and go in redemption. And then we've got this scenario with Jonah, where they wanted to know, well, who are you? Are you? And they ask him in a very mysterious, cryptic way, if he's of the seed of Yosef, are you one that can still this storm, can totally and utterly quiet down the judgments? We're talking about the darkness, aren't we? That's connected to the left side of divinity. Moshiach ben Yosef is connected to the left side of divinity. He's the left wing of the bird of redemption. Moshe is the belly of the bird, and King David is the Moshiach ben Dawid is the right wing of the bird, okay, of redemption. So when they asked Jonah, who are you? They were wanting to know, can you still this storm? Just like Joseph stilled it. And it goes into detail in the Jordan because he fled outside from Potiphar's wife on account of him, of account of him fleeing. The sea fled before his coffin. Okay, but it's really about his deeds, all his righteous deeds that he did. And likewise Moshiach ben Yosef. So then we have got the story of Yeshua, haven't we? We'll get to that. Okay, there's a lot we've got to learn because we've got to get from a place of immaturity to maturity. So we've got to understand that story of Yeshua because it's really relevant now. It's all connected to this. Okay, it's all connected to the story of Jonah. We have to understand, we have to get to a place of maturity where we're able to walk on the water, and it's symbolic. We're able to calm the harsh judgments down. We are of the seed of Joseph, like Jonah, to calm down these raging, tempestuous waters, okay, and bring about Shalom. You know, we've got to elevate ourselves up from a place of immaturity through faith to a place of maturity. Okay, so the sea saw and fled, the Jordan turned backwards. So we can see that's directly related up here. And so his name shall not be obliterated from Israel. Because why should his name not be obliterated from Israel? Because he's the one that calms the sea. He's the provision YHVH has made to calm the sea. Okay? Because it's only when the sea is calm can we be truly and utterly, when the sea is raging all around us, when judgments are raging all around us, how is that going to reveal the name YHVH in truth? We are absolutely blinded just by the judgments. We cannot perceive the name YHVH until the judgments are calmed down completely and there's Shalom. So we need one who can bring about that Shalom, peace between heaven and earth, peace between Israel and the nations, like Jonah 71, the 70 nations and Israel, male and female, etc., etc. I will go through that again. Behold, your king shall come to you. Okay, so this links back to that whole concept about being immature, isn't it? This is its state of immaturity. Behold, your king shall come to you. We'll go and have a look why. But it's all connected, look. It's all connected. And then we've got this, look, the light of Moshiach ben Yosef. So, behold, your king shall come to you. The regular and the ordinal come to 352, which is exactly the same as the regular ordinal plus the Mispagadol ordinal. What's the Mispagadol ordinal? What is the light of Moshiach ben Yosef? That is YHVH, the square ordinal of YHVH. 166 is connected to the concept of an intermediary. You know, the intermediary, you go before God. You go listen to him and we'll listen to what you say. That's the whole concept of the intermediary. So is Mashiach as an intermediary, okay, but really he's bringing about a revelation of YHVH. The light of Mashiach is there to bring about a revelation of Mashiach YHVH. So if we add them two together, come to 352, exactly, behold your king. And then this is the mispagadol of that's linked up to here. Let's just go look at this, because this is the whole concept of what we've been talking about. I went through this in full in the teachings I did about the horse of Mashiach. So I'll just go over it very quickly. You see how is it linked to the concept of the donkey? It is not the custom of the king and the matron, which is the queen, to ride on a donkey, chamor, namely the literal understanding, Hebrew, homer, of the Torah, which is wheat and the tree of knowledge of good and evil as mentioned. Instead, they ride on horses, the secret of the mysteries of the Torah. This is the meaning of you ride your horses, your chariots of salvation, from Habakkuk 3:8. For Malchut is not treated lightly, so as to have the queen ride on a donkey, and even more so the king, for it is no place for commoners and servants. That is Metatron, that is called a commoner and a servant, whose way is to ride on a donkey. This is why it says of the Messiah, when Israel will have no merit, humble, ani, and riding on a donkey. So we haven't got merit because we're not mature enough, we're not fully mature. We haven't got merit because we're not willing to do that we are supposed to be doing, to reveal the name YHVH in our lives. We're simply looking for a meal ticket out of here. When I die, what promises do I get when I die? Am I going to heaven? I want to just go to heaven when we die. Well, it all ties in. That's a state of immaturity. Because you're not doing then what you're supposed to be doing to reveal the name YHVH. You've got your meal ticket out of here. You're just doing things for the sake of your own reward. This is Metatronic consciousness. This is the whole system of reward and punishment. What's in it for me? So everything you do is with the thought of what you're going to get out of it for yourself. But Messianic consciousness is, what can I do for the sake of the name YHVH to be revealed? Okay, that's the difference between a donkey, okay, and the secret. What is the ultimate secret hidden thing in the Torah? The ultimate secret is Moshiach ben Yosef. Why? Because this secret reveals the name YHVH. We just saw the gematria. The mispag gadol of the light of Moshiach ben Yosef is equal to the square ordinal of YHVH. The two are the same. Why? Because at the level of Yechida, the soul of Mashiach at the level of Yechida, which is the Moshiach ben Yosef, there's no distinction between the light and the vessel. There's no distinction between the soul of Mashiach ben Yosef and the light of the name YHVH. They are one at the level of Yechida. This is why Christians say, I go on about it all the time, Jesus is God. Jesus is God, because they've experienced that unity. They've experienced the light of the Moshiach ben Yosef, which is the light of the Yechida, which is the Yechida of the name YHVH. And at that level, there's absolutely no distinction. Yeshua is God. That's what they've been revealed, because there's no separation between the light of Moshiach ben Yosef and the light of the name YHVH. They are one at that level. That does not mean to say something that is infinite is contained within something finite, but they are one. And to experience one, you experience the other. You experience the light of YHVH when you experience the light of the soul of Mashiach ben Yosef. Okay, so the two are one. And at that level, there's no way that person... This is why Christians can't get over it. They've really experienced something real. That light that you experience, you cannot distinguish. It's every atom of your body experiences that light as being one with the name YHVH. This is what Jews struggle to understand. But if you fit it, it's there. It's a Torah. It's Torah that this would be so. Because at the soul level of Yechida, it's the oneness of YHVH revealed. He is one at that level. There is no separation between lights and vessels. So if somebody's saying, they've received a revelation of the light of the name YHVH above the letter of the Torah at the level of Keter, Yechida, the 13 attributes at the letter of Keter, which are the 13 attributes as written in the book of Micah, as opposed to the name as revealed by Moshe through the letter of the Torah. They're one of the same, but they're just different aspects that we need to bring together, the two sticks that we need to bring together as one. I talk about it all the time. So we've got to get to that level of maturity, haven't we? And even talking about these things, we've got to have a mature understanding of actually what is before us. So I've got 2,000 years of history of hindsight. We should be mature. We're really at the stage of full maturation. We should be able to look, well, we've had these 2,000 years and we're right at the end. We are in that last stage of full ripening. We are at that last stage. We have no more of these, stages of maturity to go. We're right at the end where we should be able to perceive that's before us in truth. We should be able to interpret the entire of history, human history, in truth. That reveals the glory of the name YHVH. And then I've gone through this again. This is how it links up to that concept of Jonah. Was the Lord angry with the rivers? Is his wrath against rivers, or his fury against the sea? Only that you rode on the steeds with your chariots of salvation. Okay. That number 653 does come up, I think. I don't know whether it's in here. Be exceedingly happy, O daughter of Zion. Shout, O daughter of Jerusalem. Behold, your king shall come to you. He is just and victorious, humble and riding on a donkey and a foal, and the offspring of one of the she-donkeys. So that's what it's referring to up there. But as we say, this is in a mature state, because we haven't got the merit. We're not doing what we should be doing. We're literally looking for a meal ticket out of here. So, shout, O daughter of Jerusalem, 1,283. 1,283 times 3 is 3,849. So there's how it's linked to Jonah. And they said to him, so this is the questions that they question him. Tell us now, because of whom has this evil befallen us? What is your work and whence do you come? What is your land and what people are you? So I've gone through this in the previous teaching. They asked him concealed and revealed questions, and he asked them he answered them in a very straight way. Where Anachi Ivri, I am a Hebrew. Okay, i.e., I am one who is, my only job in this world is to be a Hebrew, and as a Hebrew, I've got the power to reveal that name YHVH in truth. That's basically what he's saying, because that's basically what a Hebrew is. A Hebrew is somebody who will not submit to the forces of exile, Metatronic consciousness. They have to attain Messianic consciousness. They cannot serve anything else other than the name YHVH. Only him, nothing else beside him. Okay. Okay, and with that I will say Shalom.